Welcome back to our channel, soap fans. Today is a beautiful day to dive deep into the scandalous, ever-twisting world of Los Angeles. Grab your coffee and get comfortable, because we have an absolutely mind-blowing theory to discuss today, straight from one of our brilliant subscribers. I recently received a fascinating comment on our channel regarding the long-rumored storyline about Dollar Bill Spencer potentially being Kelly's biological father. The comment was so incredibly insightful that it stopped me in my tracks. The fan wrote that the idea of Bill being Kelly's dad is just too little too late. They argued, and I quote, "Think about whether it's worth destroying the relationship between Liam, Kelly, and Steffi. What good does it do now if Liam finds out Kelly was never his biological daughter and he's been living a lie all these years? Does Bill really want to hurt Liam? This idea should have been executed when Kelly was a baby, not now. If Bill wants to change the paternity test results, his family will be shattered." Can you believe the absolute truth in that statement? Let's be real for a second, because this fan hit the nail right on the head. If the writers decided to pull the trigger on the Bill and Kelly paternity twist right now, the collateral damage would be apocalyptic. Liam Spencer has spent years raising Kelly, loving her, and building his entire identity around being a father to her and Beth. Yes, I know Liam has been the ultimate waffle king, bouncing between Hope and Steffi for over a decade, and frankly, he often brings his misery upon himself. But no man, no matter how flawed, deserves the psychological torture of finding out his own father stole his child. Just imagine the devastation. Bill Spencer is already a controversial figure. He has crossed so many lines in the past, including sleeping with Steffi, which is the whole reason this paternity question existed in the first place. If Bill were to manipulate a DNA test now, or if a hidden truth suddenly surfaced, it wouldn't just be a plot twist. It would be the complete and total annihilation of the Spencer family. Liam would never, ever forgive Bill. Steffi's life with Finn, which is already a constant roller coaster of Sheila Carter drama, would be thrown into absolute chaos. I completely agree with our subscriber. The window for this storyline has closed. It would just be cruel at this point. But here is where the fans' comment took a massive, jaw-dropping turn that we absolutely have to talk about. The subscriber brought up a brilliant historical parallel. They reminded us that Ridge Forrester found out Eric wasn't his biological father when he was already a grown man. And then they asked the million-dollar question, what about Douglas? Is Ridge actually Douglas's father? No DNA test was ever done. We need to think heavily about the consequences if the truth is exposed. Oh my gosh! When I read that, my jaw literally dropped. Let's take a massive trip down memory lane, because we need to unpack this. If RJ isn't stepping up to the plate as Ridge's ultimate heir, or if there's ever a question about RJ's lineage, we have to look at Douglas. Could Douglas actually be Ridge's biological son and not Thomas's? We have to go all the way back to 2016. Do you remember the tragic, beautiful, and incredibly messy Caroline Spencer II? Caroline was married to Ridge Forrester, and she wanted nothing more in this world than to have a baby with the man she loved. But Ridge was holding on to a massive secret. He had quietly gotten a vasectomy while living in Paris. He knew he couldn't give Caroline the child she so desperately craved, and the guilt was eating him alive. The tension culminated in a massive, heartbreaking argument between Ridge and Caroline. Caroline was emotionally shattered. In her deep vulnerability and despair, she made a terrible mistake. She mixed anti-anxiety medication with way too much alcohol. And who was right there to pick up the pieces? Thomas Forrester. That controversial night between a heavily intoxicated Caroline and Thomas resulted in a pregnancy. Because of Ridge's vasectomy, everyone, including Ridge, Caroline, and eventually Thomas, just assumed that the baby had to be Thomas's. But wait a minute, let's look at the actual facts. Was there ever a concrete, on-screen, undeniable DNA test performed to prove that Thomas was the father? No, there was absolutely zero scientific proof. They all just operated on the assumption that Ridge was firing blanks. But anyone who watches soap operas knows that a medical procedure off-screen is about as reliable as a paper umbrella in a hurricane. Spontaneous recanalization, where a vasectomy naturally reverses itself, is a real medical phenomenon. It happens in the real world, and it most certainly can happen in the exaggerated universe of the bold and the beautiful. What if Ridge's procedure had failed? What if, before that terrible fight, Ridge and Caroline had already conceived Douglas? The timeline is murky enough that the writers could absolutely rewrite this history without breaking a single sweat. I am absolutely obsessed with this theory because the psychological fallout would be the most epic television we've seen in years. Let's start with Thomas Forrester. I have to admit, I have always been incredibly critical of Thomas. He has used Douglas as a pawn in his obsessive, toxic games with Hope Logan for years. He has traumatized that little boy, manipulated him, and treated him like a bargaining chip. If Thomas were to find out that the son he has fought so ruthlessly to control is actually his little brother, his fragile mental state would completely shatter. Thomas's entire identity as a redeemed father would be wiped out in an instant. And frankly, a part of me thinks he deserves that karma for all the pain he's caused. And what about Ridge? Ridge has spent years playing the role of the loving grandfather to Douglas. He even helped cover up Douglas's paternity initially to protect Caroline from the scandal. Imagine the overwhelming guilt, joy, and profound confusion Ridge would feel, learning that the boy is actually his own flesh and blood. This would completely shift the legacy of Forrester Creations. Douglas wouldn't just be Thomas's kid, he would be Ridge's direct heir, standing right alongside RJ and Steffi. This brings us to the Hope Logan angle, which is where things get incredibly juicy. Hope is legally Douglas's mother now. She fought tooth and nail to adopt him and protect him from Thomas's erratic behavior. If Ridge is revealed to be Douglas's biological father, the entire family dynamic shifts. Brooke Logan, who is currently fighting tooth and nail against Katie and Steffi in the corporate boardroom, would suddenly find herself as the stepmother to Ridge's youngest son. Hope and Ridge would be tied together in a co-parenting dynamic that would drive Thomas absolutely insane. You won't believe what this could do to the ongoing war at Forrester Creations. Right now, Liam is pressuring Hope to leave Forrester and work for Katie's new Logan fashion house. Hope is refusing because she wants Brooke to take the co-CEO spot from Steffi. But if Douglas is revealed to be Ridge's son, Hope's anchor to the Forrester family becomes permanently cemented. She wouldn't just be the creator of hope for the future, she would be the mother of Ridge Forrester's youngest child. Steffi would lose her absolute mind. Steffi already resents the Logan's influence over her father, and this revelation would give Hope a permanent, unbreakable trump card. Furthermore, let's connect this back to the legendary Massimo Marone reveal. Back in 2001, Stephanie Forrester was forced to confess that Eric wasn't Ridge's biological father. It was a legacy-shattering moment that redefined the show. Ridge had to grapple with the fact that he carried the aggressive, ruthless blood of Massimo Marone. If history repeats itself with Douglas, it would be the ultimate poetic cinema. Ridge, who had his own paternity stolen from him for decades, would realize he unknowingly did the exact same thing to his own son. The generational trauma is just too rich for the writers to ignore. I really think the B&B writers need to look at this subscriber's comment and take notes. Forget the Bill and Kelly drama, that ship has sailed, and the damage would just be depressing. But the Douglas paternity mystery? That is a gold mine of untapped soap opera perfection. It has everything: legacy characters, hidden medical secrets, devastating betrayals, and a custody battle that would tear Los Angeles apart. What do you guys think? Do you believe Ridge's vasectomy could have failed back in 2016? Would you want to see Thomas lose his status as Douglas's father? Or do you think Thomas has suffered enough? And how do you think Brooke and Hope would react to this massive shift in the Forrester family tree? Let me know all your fiery thoughts and passionate theories in the comments below, because I know this is going to start a massive debate.
What do you guys think about today's drama? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for your daily dose of bold and beautiful news. See you in the next video.